Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Nathan, this is Roller Masters, I'm the Roborock vacuum guy. So today we got the Roborock S5 Max versus the Viomi V2. Who's gonna win? This is super excited for the S6 Max V, and we'll showcase that probably later next week or so when it arrives at my house. Both these guys use LiDAR navigation. They both have a two-function button system. You can see up front here, you got your basically power button / home button. Alright, so let's look at the S5 Max. This is a very popular robot. A lot of people like it because it has the electronically controlled mopping system. Also has a revised wall detection, which helps get closer to the edge. So this spinning side brush works really well. Now for the Viomi V2, it has a very similar layout. Has the LiDAR sensor more towards the rear. So one thing to note is both these robot vacuums don't have that pressure sensor, which is found like on the S6. I have heard rumors that the newer production S5 Max does have it. Let me know down in the comments if you do have a newer version of the S5 Max and it does have that pressure sensor. But for my version, this is one of the first production models, so it didn't have that pressure sensor. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the flappy lids. Yes, that's a terminology I like to call it. So they both have a clean brush which stores nicely in the robot. I do like it has a cleaning edge tool so you can remove the hairs really easily. The Viomi that the clean brush matches the color scheme of the robot. Very cool. It has like a, what is this, turquoise versus black color scheme. I actually like this color scheme a lot.
Dustbin removed.
Okay, let's look at the dustbins here. Here's the Roborock and the Viomi. One thing to note is the Viomi actually has a 2-in-1 dustbin system. So this one has the water reservoir up top, which has 200 milliliters. And then down below is the 300 milliliter dirt bin. Now, the Viomi V2 actually has 2 extra dustbins that come with the model. You have this dust-only dustbin, which has 550 milliliters of dirt, and you have a water tank only, which holds 550 milliliters of water. So I like the option that you can switch out the dustbins depending on how big of a mopping job or vacuum job you need. Okay, you guys can. Oh, I almost dropped this thing. Woo. My Robo Stack. Yes, it's the robotic pancake. Yes, it's a new model here. Give you guys a quick spin around here. They're very similar. They have the exhaust vents towards the rear. So one thing to notice, the Viomi actually has the charging pins in the rear, whereas on the Roborock, it's more towards the front underneath the robot. So one person down in the comments knows how well the Viomi did along the edge. I was kind of scratching my head because the Viomi doesn't have a dedicated wall sensor, but due to its spinning LiDAR sensor, it's very accurate. So I think it's a combination of the accuracy of the LiDAR sensor and the good algorithms that allowed it to do just as well along the edge as the Roborock, which has that wall edge detection. So underneath the robot, they almost look identical minus the color scheme. You notice the 4 click sensors, they also have that single side brush. Check out the wheel sides, they're almost exact same and actually have the exact same placement. So they're almost like a clone of each other. Also, the extractor bars are about the same. One thing to know is on the Roborock, it actually has an upgraded bristle design, so it's 250% more denser. Also, the ends of the extractor bars come off to make pet hair removal very easy. Just with a quick twist, little ends that come off, just like that, and you can remove the pet hair. Very easy. And then you just put your little cap back on, and you're good to go. So here's the differences in the extractor bars. They're about the same length. I think the Roborock is slightly longer, but with the additional ability to remove these caps, it makes cleaning really easy. So I prefer the Roborock's extractor bar over the Viomi's. You got the mopping water reservoir in the back of the Roborock, whereas on the Viomi, it's actually in the dustbin location. So that's just about it. Everything else is very similar. Okay, I better get these guys back together. We'll do a navigation challenge. Also, we'll do a cleanup challenge. And we'll see which one picks up more dirt and debris. So this is probably one of the closest head-to-head challenges with the Roborock versus another vacuum. So the reason behind this is Viomi actually is partnered up with Xiaomi, so they actually work together. Also, at one point, Roborock and Xiaomi was one company. After the launch of Xiaomi Mi, the very first robot vacuum, they kind of split and did their own thing. Now, both robot vacuums have advanced LiDAR navigation systems, which have the ability to avoid objects in real time. As you can see, they don't actually touch the objects, they just rely on their navigation system to go around them. Now, What's great about LiDAR navigation, besides the excellent navigation abilities, is the live map tracking. Also, you can run these vacuums at night without any issues. There's no light needed to run these guys. So until recently, this was a problem with camera-based vacuums where they required some type of light for them to efficiently navigate. Now, some new vacuums like the Osmo T8 and also the Roborock S6 Max V, which is coming down the road, will have night vision, which allowed them to actually navigate in complete darkness. So take a look at the navigation abilities of both the Roborock vacuums. You can see the elegance of both the Roborock vacuums. They're really good at being able to navigate in tight places. So one of the demonstrations I show is this wired chair leg. There's only a couple millimeters on each side of the Roborock vacuum, and they have to use the finesse to squeeze in between these chair legs. So most of the round Roborock vacuums that have really good navigation have no problem with this chair leg challenge, but some of the D-shaped Roborock vacuums sometimes get their front actually hung up on the wires. So that's what's great about round robots, is they do really well navigating complex environments and obstacles. So it looks like it's almost neck to neck, but for some reason the Viomi decided to go into the laundry room and check it out for a few minutes. So that's why the Roborock was able to win. But in reality, if the Viomi didn't go into this room to check it out, it would probably be about the same. Granted, these things aren't race cars, so having the best ability to go to the room the quickest is probably not a huge factor, but the ability to get to the room reliably and being able to avoid these obstacles is the most important thing. And both Roborock vacuums don't disappoint, so I give them both an A+. So I try to keep the challenges as fair as possible by cleaning up the area beforehand and afterwards, and having two stick vacuums really made the cleaning a lot easier. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh the dustbins so we get an accurate reading of how much these vacuums will pick up. Now, one thing to remember is with my testings, I actually don't use clean filters or fresh filters. Also, the dustbins are slightly dirty to showcase that I do use these robots on a regular basis. And in the real world, most people won't use brand new filters each time. They do sometimes get dirty. So that's why I try to represent that in my testing. Okay, so for this testing, I'm actually having a mixture of different types of debris. I have almonds, which are like large chunks. I also going to break up some bits of candy to represent some even larger chunks. We'll see how well these extractor bars and suction can pick up these types of candy. Also, I'm going to do some fine grains and some powder, see how well it does on some types of carpets like bathroom rugs. Lastly, I'm going to do about 1 ounce of total debris. So this kind of represents the real world, not a crazy challenge, but something that you may find on a day-to-day basis. Okay, let's start with the Roborock first, and we'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to have it the area select. I'm going to do one zone, and I'm going to have it do it twice. Both the Roborock vacuums are on the max suction mode. Okay, so you notice the edge cleaning mode did really well picking up all the almonds along the edge, minus the one in the back where the almond kind of get hung up in the carpet. Now, one thing to note is the S5 Max is actually louder than the S6. It's around 60 decibels. Also, the battery life seems to be a little bit longer, around 180 minutes. Now, different sources say it's 150 minutes, but I've averaged about close to 3 hours with the S5 Max on its low power section. Now keep in mind this varies on different types of terrain, so if you do a lot of carpet, then the battery life will probably drop down significantly. So the specs on both the S5 Max and Viomi V2 are very similar. The Viomi V2 beats the Roborock with 2150 pascals, also has 23 CFM, which is quite high of airflow, whereas the Roborock S5 Max is around 17 CFM. Also, the battery life on the Viomi V2 is slightly less, around 120 minutes, but some sources say it's 150 minutes depending on the type of terrain, but uses a 3200 mAh battery, whereas the Roborock's 5200 mAh. So you may notice that quick pause. I actually tested to see if the robot can resume a job after you press the pause button, and the Roborock had no issues with this test. So in terms of mapping, I actually prefer the Roborock's mapping system. It's color coded, and I felt like the mapping was higher resolution than on the Viomi V2. One thing to note is the Roborock can store up to 2 maps plus the current one. Okay, so it looks like it's done, so we'll go ahead and see how much it picked up after doing 2 runs. Okay, so the dry weight of the dustbin, or the initial weight, was 5.965 ounces. So we'll compare the before and after results, and we'll see how much it was able to pick up. Remember that it was 1 ounces of debris, so it looks like we're at 6.865 ounces. So if I do the math in my head, it's about 90%. Okay, so the Viomi V2 was on its max power mode, which is definitely louder than the Roborock S5 Max, around 69 decibels. So let's take a close look at that spinning side brush on the Viomi V2. Notice how quickly it's spinning. Now, if you notice the Roborock, it actually slows down its side brush in open areas, and then when it gets near the baseboard, it actually speeds up. I like this idea, and you see that the Viomi V2, with its fast spinning side brush, actually kicks a piece of candy near the rug, and unfortunately wasn't able to get that piece of candy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Roborock is the only model that has the capability of slowing its side brush in open areas and speeding up along the baseboards. Even with Roborock vacuums with dedicated wall sensors, they don't have this capability. But I kind of wish that manufacturers would have the ability to slow their side brushes down, because sometimes these side brushes can hinder the robot's performance. Now, both robot vacuum dustbins are decent size. The Roborock's 460 milliliters, and depending on what dustbin you use, it's either 550 milliliters or 300 milliliters. Now, with the Viomi V2 and Roborock, there's no self-emptying bin option, but I have found that day-to-day maintenance, the size of the dustbin is sufficient. So I did the same test like the Roborock, where I pressed the play pause button, waited about 5 minutes, and then pressed it again to see if the Roborock remembered where it left off. Unfortunately, the Viomi V2 decided to start a new cleaning job. So luckily the Roborock vacuum did clean a similar area, so the testing results weren't obscured. But that's just one thing to remember, is if you press the pause button on the Viomi V2 and if you wait too long, it will actually start a new cleaning job. Maybe on the app it will wait longer, but I think that's an important feature. Maybe if you have to stop the robot momentarily to maybe empty out the dustbin, the robot vacuum should give you sufficient time to do that task and then have the robot vacuum resume its cleaning job. So one thing I do like about the Viomi V2, besides its interchangeable dustbins, is its wide mopping pan. It does help with the stubborn dirt and grime. Now let's see how well the Viomi V2 does with this bathroom rug. It looks like it kind of folded over, so it's going to kind of suck it up. But with the adjustable wheels and the good traction, the robot vacuum was able to free itself. Okay, so some negatives that I've heard from some users is the lack of support, maybe the firmware versions don't update quickly or something like that. Well, I haven't experienced this yet because I've only used this robot vacuum a couple weeks, but I'll definitely let you know how quickly updates come through with the robot vacuum. Also with the Viomi V2, I actually had to use a different server, not the US server. I used mainly in China. That was similar to the Roborock S5 when it first came out. The US server wasn't available, so that's just one thing to remember when you try to pair the robot vacuum. Use an overseas server like Greece or mainland China if you're here in the US. So the last thing I want to talk about, the European model. That's something I get a lot of questions on through GearBest when people buy through their website. If it says EU, all that means is you just have to get a $5 adapter and it should work with your country. Okay, so it looks like the Viomi V2 was able to free itself, and we'll see how well it picked up all the dirt and debris. Okay, so do you guys remember the dry weight of the Viomi V2's dustbin? Oh, what's in there? I don't know. Hey, maybe I should turn on my scale too, that might help. Anyways, the dry weight was 9.09 ounces, and we'll check out the after weight after it picked up all the dirt and debris. And let's see, it looks like it's 9.890 ounces, so it was about an 80%. So to be honest with you, I think both Roborock vacuums won't be a bad choice. Now with the Roborock S5 Max, you do have the slightly better cleaning performance. Also, you get the better battery life, but with the Viomi V2, because the new model came out, the Viomi V3 is slightly cheaper at $389 versus around $480 for the Roborock S5 Max. You can get both these vacuums on Amazon or GearBest. I'll put the links on both websites down below, so check out those if you're interested in buying one of these vacuums to purchase. So have a great rest of your day and be safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time, and stay tuned for the Roborock S6 Max V video coming up.